Chambers on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. I am Ruth Usman and I have our in-house barrister who does not look like herself today. To all of you who've been seeing her on Facebook, you need to, if you have never, well, you won't see the drastic change though. If you've never really seen her and then you're just going on Facebook, but it's okay. I managed to recognize her. All right, good morning, Bryce.
Good morning, Ruth.
It goes without saying you had a great weekend.
Yeah, I did. I must say I did.
Though I cannot really see your face very well. Perhaps. Are you sure you're working with that mic?
Yes.
But I want to see more of your face.
No, you will see me after the program.
It's all right. So that's the barrister doing her thing. Well, today on Probono Chambers, we will focus on occupational safety and health. Occupational safety and health. So this is my occupation. My occupational health confusion. So tell us, what really is occupational health?
Okay, occupational health is basically your health and welfare and safety in the workplace. And when you are at work, what happens? How is your health in the workplace secured? Because I think this is necessary, because in the workplace you get to involve and engage in activities, handle machinery and all manner of items that you would normally not handle outside of the workplace. So in handling all of these machines and equipment and operating within that atmosphere, what happens? What has the law put in place that so much so that your health is protected, so that you are not exposed to activities or equipment that could be injurious to your health. So basically what we're going to be looking at are the legislations, the provisions and the rules and laws that are there to protect the welfare, the health and the safety of the worker in the workplace, and those who may be affected either directly and or indirectly by the activities of the workplace.
So the moment you started explaining, the first thing that came to mind was looking at an industry.
Majorly factories, because we all know that the factory is not so much of a safe place to be in, especially where you are not experienced, where you are not an experienced person, where you're not trained or where you're not used to such an environment. It is usually not a very safe place to be in on a good day. Now, the truth is we've had so many cases of people working in factories, working in environments where they have been exposed to so much hazards, either by equipment or by the raw materials or by whatever items they are made to handle in the course of their work and jobs. Now, most of them have sustained injuries, some of them even permanent injuries, and many of the times we find out that one thing that happens most often is that they are abandoned. Nobody comes to say what has happened to you, what is your health situation. And many of them, we've had cases of people who have lost limbs, who have lost vital body organs to accidents that have taken place in the workplace. But the point is, it is so because to a large extent, as is the case with other aspects of our life and rights, a lot of people don't even know. One of the things that happen is that factories do not put in place the necessary precautionary measures to ensure that the health of their workers are secured while in the workplace. So they don't even, the factories don't do so. And then even the workers don't even know that, yes, we're entitled to such and such equipment. The Factory Act, which is the regulating legislation now has made so many provisions. It's replete with so many provisions as to what the employer is supposed to do, as to what measures he should put in place, as to the equipment that should be necessary, as to a lot of other regulations like that. These people don't even respect that in the first place, and then the employer. Yes, and then the workers on the other hand do not even know that you're supposed to your rights to your health.
People who are managing factories and all of that, what expectations are there? Well, what should the employees expect them to put in place that would show that at least they have them in mind? They want to ensure that their
health is safe. Yes. Now, first of all, you're supposed to provide a conducive working atmosphere. The factory is supposed to be
conducive. If you have to come in contact with certain chemicals,
yes,
or raw materials, like you said, or some machinery, how?
Well, you're supposed to provide certain equipment. Now, first of all, your factory is supposed to meet certain standards. It's supposed to be properly built. It's supposed to have proper and adequate ventilation. It's not supposed to be overcrowded. There should be adequate hygienic condition. The hygiene is supposed to be up to standard, and then drainage too should be properly put in place. So all of these things, you're not supposed. There should be between the workers. There should be appropriate spacing between them. So there is you don't come to a factory where the place is overcrowded and jammed. So that's number one. And then number two, you should ensure that your equipment and machines are properly kept. They're properly handled, they're properly installed, and then they're properly managed and kept. So where this equipment needs servicing, you should not try to manage the situation and say, okay, yes, this can work. It's obvious that this machine is about to go under, and then you're saying, okay, because I'm not the one in charge, it's Mr. B there whose salary I pay, so you can allow him to work on that machine that is about to crumble for another 1, 2, 3 months. It's very common. Most times this thing happen. Then when where there are employees who are employed to handle certain functions, especially welding, you're supposed to provide adequate protective gear, gloves, overall coverings, and all of that are required for such functions.
It's a good thing you're mentioning welding, because some people may just be there thinking, oh, it has to be all those big factories and all of that, because we have people who are doing this just by the roadside.
Basically, yes. A factory, actually, I should have started with the definition of a factory. A factory, when you talk about factory, you imagine this very massive company where there are gigantic machines and very complex workings and all that. No, that's a factory. But a factory, by our definition, is a premise where more than one person, where one or more people work. So even if it's one person who is working in that factory, so long as he has to be there as a working staff and then have to handle machinery, no matter how simple this equipment may be, you have to put in place certain conditions. You have to provide where your staff can change their clothing. You have to provide first aid. You have to provide adequate drinking water. You have to provide a lot of regulations. The Factories Act is there with so much regulations. But the point is that it's very unfortunate that we do not enforce most of those regulations.
Interesting. So we don't have to be in a very, very large offices. Now, is it only about people who come in contact with certain machineries? Maybe you're working with this. Okay, let me just say, for instance, what I do, my office here. Is there anything does that law protect someone like me? What are the hazards here?
Well, the law says that even in your workplace where you are working now, you have to be properly trained. That's another angle. properly trained.
Is this a factory?
This is not a factory,
okay,
but it is a workplace. so to be properly trained to handle whatever equipment you are to come in contact with, and where this equipment pose hazards, you should be notified of such hazards, and then you should also be given proper information, the precautionary measures that you can that have been put in place and that you can take. So, and if under some circumstances, you should be made to work under a supervisor who has adequate experience as to the workings of whatever equipment you are to come in contact with. So all of these things put together are what the Factories Act have put in place to ensure that a worker in a factory is adequately protected. Where you have to come in contact, workers should not be made to come in contact with unreasonably with hazardous substances, gases, dangerous liquids, and all of that put together. Whatever poses as a hazard to the health of the worker, he should not be made to come in contact with them unreasonably. Now, where he has to do so, he ought to be he has to be given suitable personal and adequate protective clothing and protective gear, including helmets, boots, gloves, and overalls, and whatever coverings will be
oxygen mask.
Go. Well, yes, if that is necessary. Yeah. I don't know. Yes.
You may be in a place where there's a mixture of gases.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so you need that.
Yes. So, where whatever it is that would be necessary, it's supposed to be provided by your employer. You're supposed to be given adequate, proper training. I keep saying that.
In Nigeria, many people who are building, public buildings here and there, you see them. You hardly really see them wearing helmets, and they are high up there. I've seen people climb masts that are so high, and they're not wearing it. Well, sometimes you may see that there's this what will I call it now? But then you just see like something just around their waist, perhaps. Maybe like a rope.
Yes, I say that.
Now, when someone is building a house, at that point, who you have the message, who would really be responsible for ensuring that particular environment is?
Yes. I think in that light, it's supposed to be the engineering regulations. There are regulations there that are put in place. Now, the contractor rather, in charge of such contracts, ought to provide all of this for his workers. But the problem remains that very often, I see such scenarios too. Very often, these are not provided for.
You see people walking on construction grounds barefoot.
Exactly, and some of them use they kind of weave cement bags and use them as some form of head covering and all that. Yes, that is part of what we're looking at, and so we're saying that
take responsibility, because now you're saying perhaps the contractor may say, well, he is not directly like an employer to them.
Most of the times, yes. Before I answer that question, now the factory inspectorate of the federal arm of the Federal Ministry of Labor and Productivity is in charge of inspecting these factories and ensuring that these regulations are in place, that the adequate notices are put in place. You want to get into factories, especially in cities where there are large factories. There are not so much of big factories here, but there are, but not so much. But when you go to places like Port Harcourt, where factories are all over the place, you see notices from their gates saying that you should ensure that you maintain this, put this in mind, do this and do that. Now, all of those things are there. Now, apart from the factory inspectorate, many parastatals or agencies have their own inspection units too. For instance, the Nuclear Regulatory Agency has that. They have like a kind of in-house mechanism where they regulate all of these things.
Okay.
So even pharmaceutical bodies have a way of regulating and ensuring that companies that produce these medicines are obey the minimum standards that are required.
Okay. Well, before we continue, let's go on a quick break. We'll be right back. Do stay with us on Probono Chambers.
Your right, my right, our right. Everybody's right is protected. Human Rights Radio 101.1, redefining broadcasting.
This is to inform the general public that the activities of scavengers, also known as Babambola, is prohibited within the Federal Capital City. Their activities are henceforth restricted to the area councils. Residents of the Federal Capital City are advised to be vigilant and report any suspicious activities to law enforcement agencies. Together, we can make Abuja the city of our dreams.
èyí ni láti kéde pé ojúṣe àwọn sagolo sapáànù tí a mọ̀ sí Babambola ti dópin nílùú Àbújá àti ìjọba àbílẹ̀ mẹ́fẹ̀ẹ̀fà bí ọwọ́ sìnkú àwọn agbófinró bá wá bá ẹnikẹ́ni nínú wọn yóò fi ojú ba ilé ẹjọ́ o. ẹ̀yin olùgbé Àbújá ẹ yára tètè tẹ́tíléko tẹ́ bá rí ẹnikẹ́ni tí ń yọ́lẹ̀ ẹ̀dà tí kò tẹ̀lé òfin tó sì ń sagolo tí ń sapáànù ẹ tètè fi tó àwọn agbófinró létí. àjọṣe wa ni o láti mú kí olú ìlú yìí dùn ún wò kí ó sì dùn ún gbé pẹ̀lú ìrọ̀rùn. ìkéde yìí wá láti iléeṣẹ́ ìjọba olú ìlú yìí ìyẹn Federal Capital Territory Administration.
Awidna akugna aza vien kizinege tuntun aza mbatun aya una vidankulu na kobege Babambola atela jebaje o kizine nkoyin tiyan kola ka haye abatun kola pojun nara kansi vien ba lokutna e kizine ozana wa sasatu vidankulu wotna aba wa api aga otata agna kizinda mbasasaloge balaweka na zaipia da ada na azalaba sasalo kizinege na ja zaipia bakara na bana ba won ba tabashiba agaba tata you na what they are me akinzin na ko na ba abwa abegi I would never back me in city here atotun jina pokoge Federal Capital Territory Administration.
Built or leased a new house? Or you just want to give your interior space a world-class finishing? Power Spring Interiors is the company that will fix the best kitchen cabinets, bathroom, wares, and tiles for you. We also offer painting, screeding, and POP. For anything finishing and interior design, just call us on 080-3774-8268 or 090-9127-0007. You can also follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Power Spring Interiors.
Ana sanar da dukkanin al'ummar birnin tarayya Abuja da ku kasance masu bin dokoki sau da kafa musamman ma ta fuskar dokokin hanyoyi da na kafa guraren kwana ba bisa ka'ida ba a birnin tarayya Abuja. A kuma sani cewa har yanzu dokan nan ta hana amfani da tsofaffin motoci a matsayin taxi. Haka zalika kananan motocin bus da kwasta tare da hana sana'ar acaba a cikin birnin tarayya Abuja. A kuma tabbatar da cewa an bi dokar sana'ar acaba a guraren da doka ta amince tare da tabbatar da bin dokar hana karuwanci banza a birnin tarayya da sauran laifuka kamar tu'amali da miyagun kwayoyi, kafa tashoshin motoci ba bisa ka'ida ba da dai sauran laifuka iri daban-daban. Hakika duk wanda aka kama ya karya doka za a hukunta shi. Mu haɗa hannu domin gina birnin tarayya Abuja a matsayin abin alfaharinmu.
ji ohere a echetara ndị bi isi obodo anyị bụ Abuja mkpa ọ dị idobe iwu tụmadụ ka o si gbasata okporo ụzọ n'ebe obibi na-ezighị ezi. Biko mara na enyela otu task force nke minista hibere ikike ịhụ na iwu nke mechibidoro adịgboroja ụgbọala ọbụla eji arachapịọm pụtara ihe. Ha ga-ahụkwa na akwụsịrị kpamkpam iji ọgbatumtum maọbụ ị na-aga ebugharị ndị mmadụ n'isi obodo anyị bụ Abuja. Otu a ga-ahụkwa na ha gbochiri ndị keke ma mawapụtakwara ha ebe ha ga na-agba na mpaghara isi obodo anyị. Ha ga-ekpochapụkwa ndị akwụna na ụmụ mmekpa ahụ ndị ọzọ dịka ịtụ mgbere mmadụ, ire ọgwụ ike nakwa iwepụ ma kurie ebe obibi ọbụla na-ezighị ezi. Otu a ga-ahụ na ewepụrụ ọdụ ụgbọala na-ekwesịghị ekwesị n'isi obodo anyị. Biko ka anyị jikọọ n'aka ọnụ wulite FCT ka ọ dị ka anyị si chọọ ya. Ndị aka ga-akpara dara iwu ndị a ga-eji anya ha hụ ntị ha, bụrụ ezi nwa amaala, dobe iwu ala anyị.
Aha! Kéku ilé ó gbọ́ kó yá àwí fún toko. Kánò gbọ́ kóró fóòbẹ̀ pé ìjọba olú ìlú yìí fi àsìkò ìran gbogbo olùgbé ìlú yìí ní etí o pé ìjọba kò fi àyè gba àwọn ọkọ̀ tí kò dára, kẹ̀kẹ́ nàpẹ́ẹ̀bù, ọ̀kadà alùpùpù àti àwọn ọmọbìnrin tí ń ṣiṣẹ́ ìgbélépawó ìyẹn àwọn aṣẹ́wó nínú ìlú Àbújá o. Mọ́ gbàgbé pé àwọn amúnisínkù ìjọba ń bẹ láàrin ìlú bí ọwọ́ wọn bá bà ọ́ ajẹ́pọ̀ orugi oyin nìyẹn o. Káwí fún ni ká gbọ́ ìlú yọmọ adarí hurun, ṣèbí ká sọ̀rọ̀ fún ni ká gbà ní yọmọ ẹ̀dá èèyàn. Gbọ́ ohun tí ìjọba olú ìlú yìí ń sọ fún gbogbo wa kí ìlú Àbújá kí ó lè dùn ún wò kí ó lè dùn ún gbé fún gbogbo wa. Dídára olú ìlú yìí àjọṣe wa ni o. Jẹ́ kí èmi àti ẹ jẹ́ olùgbé rere.
Udu mmiri ebidola, a na-adọ ọhaneze aka na ntị ka ha gbochie ma kwụsị akparamagwa ga-ebute mmiri ọdụdọ na mbuze dịka iwufu ahịhịa n'ime mmiri na-asọ asọ ya na ịtụnye ihe n'ime gota. A na-emekwa ka ị mara na iwu ụlọ n'ebe na-ekwesịghị dịka ụzọ mmiri nwere ike ịkpata ịtụfu ndụ ndị mmadụ n'efu ya na ihe nweta ndị mmadụ ịla n'iyi. Mee ihe kwesịrị dị mma. Ọ bụ Federal Capital Territory Administration FCTA na-ezitara gị ozi a.
A yayin da damuna ta fara kankama, an shawarci al'umma da su guji ɓata muhalli wanda ke iya jawo ambaliya. Zub da shara ba kan gado shine makasudin babbar ambaliya a birnin tarayya Abuja. Saboda haka kar ku zub da sharar ku a magudanan ruwa. Bugu da ƙari, an shawarci al'umma da su kiyaye yin gine-ginen gidaje a hanyoyin ruwa wanda yin haka kan iya jawo rusan da zai laƙume rayukan al'umma da dukiyoyinsu a lokacin damuna. A koda yaushe ku kasance mai yin abin da yake daidai. Wannan sako na zo muku ne daga hukumar birnin tarayya FCTA.
As the rainy season begins, the general public is hereby advised to avoid environmental practices that could cause flooding. Indiscriminate waste disposal has remained a major factor causing flooding in the FCT. Do not throw your garbage into gutters and drainages along waterways. Residents are also advised to avoid building houses around natural waterways, as this could also lead to loss of lives and property during the rainy season.
Do the right thing. This message is from the Federal Capital Territory, FCTA.
Gẹ́gẹ́ bí a ti mọ̀ wípé àsìkò òjò la wà, èyí ni láti sọ fún gbogbo ènìyàn láti yàgò fún ìwà ìdọ̀tí, dídà ìdọ̀tí síbi tí ò bójúmu tí ó lè fa omíyalé, àgbàrá ya ṣọ́ọ̀bù. Dídà ìdọ̀tí síbi tí ò bójúmu tàbí òpópónà sì jẹ́ ohun kan gbòógì tí ó ń ṣokùnfà omíyalé, àgbàrá ya ṣọ́ọ̀bù ní ìlú Àbújá. Ẹ má ṣe da ìdọ̀tí sínú gọ́tà tàbí ọ̀nà tí ìjọba ti pèsè sílẹ̀ fún omi láti gbà kọjá. A tún fi àsìkò yìí sọ fún gbogbo olùgbé FCT Àbújá láti rí dájú wípé wọn ò kọ́ ilé sí ọ̀nà tí omi ń gbà kọjá. Èyí lè ṣe okùnfà pípàdánù ọ̀gọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀mí tàbí pípàdánù ohun ìní ní àsìkò òjò. Ẹ ṣe ohun tó tọ́. Ìkéde yìí wá láti àjọ FCTA, Federal Capital Territory Administration.
Your right, my right, our right. Everybody's right is protected. Human Rights Radio 101.1, redefining broadcasting.
Join our diverse team of legal experts as we provide education and guidance to you, our listeners on a broad array of issues raised by the modern legal landscape, absolutely free on Pro Bono Chambers, airing on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM, redefining broadcasting.
Human Rights Radio.
10:34 a.m. Pro Bono Chambers continues on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. Today we're looking at occupational safety and health. I've been speaking with our in-house barrister, Uche. Now, taking a look at what provisions the law has provided for or has made for workers, especially those who may have to work in some form of hazardous environment. So how effectively are these regulations enforced?
Well, I must say that unfortunately they are not effectively enforced because the factory inspectorate, as yes, they do a lot in trying to ensure that these regulations by the factories are put in place and that the safety of workers in the factories is protected. However, I must say that a lot still needs to be done. Very often we have countless number of factories who don't even know that they have to put these things in place in the first place, and then those regulations are not put in place. The workers do not know that they have to work in some kind. They are entitled to some form of protection by their employers. So a lot still needs to be done. The factory inspectors have a right to walk into factories and demand for the welfare, health and welfare records of all employers on site, and then they can demand to see of any kind of notice, relevant notices, license, all regulations and all that. And where these are not in place, where the factory inspector finds any factory short of all of these regulations, he can issue a prohibition notice and all of those. But how effective? Not very effective, because another thing is that we do not have so much of these factory inspectors. There are so many factories and very few inspectors, so we don't have so many of them working to ensure that our factories are safe for our workers. A lot of these factories are not even owned by Nigerians. A lot of them are owned by foreigners, and then they come in, set up factories and expose Nigerians to so much hazards, which I'm very sure is not the way it is in their countries of origin.
That's always heartbreaking when we talk about some beautiful policies or laws, and when it gets to this question of, ensuring that these things are actually happening the way they are in the books, you find out that no, they're not. And so I wonder, why create the laws if you cannot,
the laws are a beautiful masterpiece. If we could enforce the provisions of the Factories Act, enforce almost all the, if not almost all the provisions of the Factories Act, we would have safer workplaces and reduce work-related incidents and deaths. We would reduce them drastically, because day in, day out, we have instances and scenarios of people going through hell in the hands of their employers or in their workplaces, and then at the end of the day, most of these work-related issues or diseases or disorders don't happen in a day. Some of them happen over a long period. Accumulation of substances, of some form of substances in the body, eventually pose a serious threat to the health of the worker. So it's not just sudden occurrences or accidents. Sometimes it also goes to include long-term exposure to such substances and such conditions and environments, and then you find out that one day the worker could just break down, and it could be as a result of that.
I just heard someone out there said, I reject it, or God forbid.
yes, we always reject bad things, but they do happen. And when they happen to people.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when we realize now that our work environment is not optimal, safe for us, can we approach our employer and say, Oga, or
yes,
you're supposed to provide this for us?
Yes.
And they'll say you are feeling entitled.
Exactly. That is like what we talked about the other day when we talked about the employment contracts and all that. It's we tend to believe that the employer-employee relationship is an equal one, but in reality, it is not. The employer will always have a higher bargaining power. He always has an upper hand in such negotiations and dealings. Major reason is that there are 1,001 people who would do what you are being paid to do. So when you have such opportunities, most times it's some form of, I rather work in such conditions and under such circumstances. However, the factories, the regulations create a provision where you could make a report to the factory inspectorate division of.
Where do we find them?
That's under the Federal Ministry of Labor and Productivity. Okay. Now there is an office that takes cognizance of such matters and cases. Now it's part of their job to protect the identity of whoever makes such reports. So you could approach the factory inspectorate and lay complaints as to such and such factories not creating adequate or safe environments for their workers to perform.
Interesting. It's Probono Chambers on Human Rights Radio 101.1 FM. You can call the number 081-8999-1011 if you have a question to ask the barrister. Remember, you can ask just about any legal matter question on Probono Chambers and the answers will be given to you. So if your question is not necessarily what we have been talking about in the couple of minutes, have no fear, you can still call in and ask your questions. 081-8999-1011. That is the number to call. Let's get your questions. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, welcome.
Yeah, this is Joel Ngulong from South State.
Joel, you're welcome.
Actually, I want to understand, like, as a son, do I have a right to get the attention of my mother? As like when they have divorced my father, do I have the right to go and confront her and talk to her, ask her what the reason is, and get her attention to bring her back to my father's house?
Mm-hmm. Okay, barrister, is that a question for you?
I don't know. Divorce by order of the court, is it a legal divorce? Did they finalize that in court? Now, if they did, then there is no I don't think there's any law that stops the two parties from eventually reconciling in future if they choose to. However, I want to believe that for them to have gotten to the point of divorce, they both, either one party or both parties, must have agreed that yes, their marriage has gone beyond repair, and so they want to go their separate ways. Now, where that is the case, I don't think you can mandate your mother to come, because of course the divorce is complete unless she and her husband choose to.
Joel.
Yes, ma'am.
Repair their.
Okay. Are you there only? I think we lost that call there. Well, I wanted to ask his position in the family. Perhaps he just feels obligated to reconcile their parents.
I think he's either, he said he's a son, so he's either the first son or the only son.
Yeah.
Or maybe the last son.
I'm trying to understand, he feels about the situation. Your daddy another chance.
And then he should press the same button on his father so that both of them can be on the same page.
Yes, of course. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. I'm watching our barista there. My name is Samira Yarima.
All right, Samira, welcome back on Probono Chambers.
Yes, I rented, although my two, I'm, self-employed. I'm a fashion designer.
Okay.
Where I handle most fashion. I've been sewing for about 18 years now.
Ooh.
So, coming back from Kabuta market when I went to service one of my machines, and I was knocked down by a car on top of a bike. Everything split, and the police took me to the hospital. I spent 3 days in the hospital without them fixing my leg. I broke my leg into 3 places. And now the police, since they invited, they came, and I talked to the police. They should not allow the man to go. He said, no, the man promised to take care of me. Now, the police did not come back to check on me, or to arrest, or to impound that car, or to see the guy that even hurt me. Did he have driving license or anything? They just abandoned me like that. Till when I took my matter to Women Rights Radio, when the police hurt me, is when they called the man. After he promised to take care of me, from that hospital day that he gave me 40,000, I never see. He gave me a number. He said I should be calling. When I called him, he said he's in outside country. He's somewhere. Now, as I'm telling you, I have sold every machine in my shop to fix my leg. I'm at home. So is it right for those police to just abandon me, not look for me, or come back to the hospital to find out about me or tell me information? They only tell me they took it to life camp. That one guy there in life camp is handling the case because the case is not their own, it's for the MTV. So that is what I want to find out. Advise me, Barista, because already my case is in with Ahmed Isa. So I'm waiting for him to call me because I have to all the necessary things they ask me. The address and the affidavit and everything. So I don't know now. I'm shocked. I'm sitting the way I even see sitting. I still want to help myself to do because right now I don't have anything. So advise me. I don't know. Thank you.
Okay, Samira, thank you so much for your call. What can she do at this point? I mean, well, like she said, she has brought it to the ordinary president. So I don't know.
Well,
but as it is now, what else can she do? Will she go back to the police and say people?
Well, what I would have said if her matter was not already in Brekete family was that she should make a formal complaint to the police and get them to. I'm sure it's good a thing she already knows the has the details or the she knows the person who hit her. So I would have advised that she makes a formal complaint to the police and get them to mandate the man to take care of her hospital bills. If that fails, then she can go to court and press charges. However, the matter, like she said, is in Brekete family, so I don't even know what else to say.
If it's already here, then we'll have to wait on the ordinary president to see what he can do.
Yes. So.
All right. 081-8999-1011. Let's have your questions and contributions on the program this morning on Pro Bono Chambers, where we provide you with free legal advice. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Mr. Moses.
Okay, Mr. Moses, you need to be more audible, please.
Okay. Can you hear me clear?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm calling because of the issue of my electric bill. Because of this last year, they was giving me bill of 3,000.
Hello, Mr. Moses. You said you're calling on what issue?
I'm calling because of the overbill from the NEPA, from from my electricity overbilling.
Okay, they're over billing you.
Overbilling.
Okay.
And I went to their office in Use, and they asked me that no problem, they will rectify it. I went to their office in my Guaripa. They assured me they will rectify it. And they also call the Mandala station that they should rectify the overbilling. And also, they should try to give me meter. This last year, I write, and nobody give me meter, and the overbilling still continue, and even the problem, they were giving me 3,600, 3,700 last year. I didn't complain. But immediately, anything from this year, the beginning of this year, they start giving me 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 naira. And the electricity...
Is it for commercial use?
Yes, commercial use.
Okay. So perhaps your workload has increased?
No.
You have more things to do with power these days. Are you sure? Try to remember, please.
Yes, I'm sure. I even went to the office.
Okay.
I go to the office. I carry they send some of the officials to my house to check the whole house, and they see no AC, nothing, just two fridge, not more.
Okay, but basically you don't have a meter. That's what you're also saying.
Yes.
And they said they were going to provide that.
And then they started to reduce the overbilling. Then after that now, they are still giving me the overbilling. So
okay, when was the last time you paid?
The last year they was giving me 3,000.
No, this year.
This year.
Have you paid for May, June?
From the month of February down, now they are giving me 7,000, 8,000, 9,000.
Okay.
So even when I complain now, they now reduced to 7,000 2 months ago, last month, and they now call me from my office, from the office that they will try to give me meter to rectify the old problem.
All right. So right now, what intervention? What do you want the barrister to do now, or what is your question?
Suddenly yesterday, I saw the new bill again, 7,600. So the thing began to.
Yes, I want you to use your mouth and ask the question. What is the question you want to ask now?
What?
I think basically what he should do is, this is a dissatisfied electricity consumer who is not happy with the way his bills have been coming, and he doesn't have a meter. I think he should write to lay an official complaint to Servicom. It's within their office to look into his complaint and then channel it to the appropriate quarters, which I am suspecting would be the National Electricity Regulation Commission, if they have an office that looks into complaints of electricity consumers. So basically, I would suggest that he would first of all do a letter of complaint to Servicom.
Okay. That should help you out. I hope you heard the suggestion by the barrister. Hello.
Hello, good morning, Ruth.
Morning, welcome.
This is Jamil calling from Opposing.
Jamil.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Good morning to the barrister in the house.
Good morning.
My issue is, I have a little story to tell about all the teachers with and all of those. Back then, when we were in secondary school, and we were asked by one of our biology teachers to look for a particular leaf, and the process of getting they want to cross one of the waste disposal from one of the factories in Kaduna then. So one of my classmates fell in, and we tried to drag him out. So after days, after let's say 4 days, barely a week, then he started his skin started to peel off. So before then, the the school authority have to like rush him to the nearest hospital, and he called to family.
Jamil,
pardon?
We're not really getting your story. You said back in those days you were in primary school.
No, secondary
school, and they asked you to go and look for a particular leaf.
Yeah, and the process of crossing a waste, let's say a waste disposal from a textile company, right? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, so a friend of mine or my classmate fell into the lagoon, and we are trying to like drag him out, and after like a week, his kids started developing some artificial, what will I call it? Then before then, he started peeling off, right? Yeah. So I was to like after then, he was like taken to clinic, hospital for barely a week after he was hospitalized. He gave up the ghost, and the family wanted to like push or drag the company to court for not disposing their waste properly. I don't know. That is the whole thing. But I want the barrister to please clarify me. Is there any law? Because I didn't join the program on time. Is there any law that prescribe that the waste should cover or properly disposed, or shouldn't be left open for other things to? I don't know, because it's painful.
Okay. Thank you for your call.
Okay.
I did not understand.
See this by yourself.
Okay, they went. Now, I got him to the point where he said they went to look for a particular leaf, and then.
Well, the thing is, he just wants to know. He said there was a factory there, and they were disposing. I guess whatever. Whatever it was, waste that they were disposing was going into the lagoon.
Okay.
And his friend mistakenly fell into it.
Yeah.
And developed certain things on his skin. He was taken to the hospital. Eventually, he died. That the family of his friend wanted to perhaps sue them for indiscriminate waste disposal and all that. But he wants to know: is there any law that guards? You know, on waste disposal, especially for factories.
Yes. There are laws. Our environmental laws prohibit illegitimate dumping of refuse, especially in water bodies, and that is the within the duties of NESRIA, National Environmental Sustainability something Regulation Agency. I know they regulate the environment and all that, so they have the powers to ensure that the laws guiding our environmental laws are adhered to, and that people do not just factories, people generally do not use our water bodies or dispose their refuse illegitimately, because many of the times you find out that waste from factories, waste from processing, all manner of factories are dumped just like that, exposed, and most of this waste are very hazardous. They are not properly handled, and then they are just littered around, and then they pose a stress to not just the individuals around, but the entire community where such waste are found. So yes, there are laws that
sue such a company.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Okay,
you can.
So,
Jamil, but the point is, I don't know how long ago this happened.
He said when they were in secondary school.
Yeah, maybe he
now
just.
We don't know when
what year that was.
Okay, Jamil, you have to call back tomorrow and tell us what year that was, so that we know whether or not they can still pursue it. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, interesting. Well, that's the much we can take on Pro Bono Chambers for today. Thanks to our in-house barrister. And thanks to those who called in and listened in on the program. We'll make a return tomorrow, same time, right here on Human Rights Radio. I'll be back in the 11 o'clock hour on Media Lab.
Your right, my right, our right. Everybody's right is protected. Human Rights Radio 101.1.